Welcome to the chain. This is the BCC Club. We're your hosts. I'm Kendahl and Sarah.
And I'm Sarah Shower. And each week we go down an internet rabbit hole. Kendahl, what festive hole are we getting into?
We're getting deep down into the festive hole of internet scary stories.
Exactly. So be afraid. No.
Be afraid.
Be ready to be
scared.
afraid. Yeah.
I went through and found all these scary stories on the internet, and you really have to deep dive because people are really bad at like writing anything.
Yeah.
So it was like some of them are really good and scary. Well, some of them are so long that I would find one that I was like, this is really scary, and then I'd keep scrolling and I'd be like, this is a full novel. I can't read this on the podcast. It would take the whole episode. But a lot of them, I would say 95% of the stories are a person runs into another person and then they hang out with them for a bit, and then later someone's like, that person died 20 years ago. I'm like, yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
Not scary. Let's grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I would try to find some really scary ones, but we'll see. Also, I got so scared making this. I was like alone at my house. This weekend, my partner was out of town and my roommate was out of town. It was just me. And I got really scared making this research document.
Yeah. Why? Just because the story?
Because they're scary.
Okay.
Well, some of them were really scary. There was one that was really scary, but I didn't put it on here because it was too long.
Yeah.
I don't think I put it on here. Yeah, it was way too long. But it creeps me out. And then then I had to go take a shower.
Okay.
Because it was right before we recorded last week, and I went to go take a shower, and I had my shower curtain open because I was so scared.
Yeah.
So this has been a labor of love, is all I'll say.
I'm happy that you made it through. Do you like scary things?
Yeah, I do. I really like horror movies. But I'm more of like I love like maybe the term would be psychological thriller. I like something that's like could happen in real life. Like I don't really get scared by like devil, demon, stuff like that necessarily. But like the movie Hush, have you seen that? I think I might have brought it up last week.
Yeah.
That like really creeps me out. It's about like an intruder. Like that really scared me. Or like a lot of these stories it's just like someone being creepy, and that like creeps me out.
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, I've recently fallen in love with horror movies. I used to hate the ones that are like religiously based about like demons and stuff. But now I'm like, after watching The Conjuring so many times and every single scary movie about nuns I've watched, I'm like, I mean, sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not like freaked out anymore. I'm like, if the thing is if like the devil exists, and really I don't. Whatever.
I think if it becomes too fantastical, it stops scaring me. Like I feel like there's a lot of movies where it's like in the beginning it's just kind of a creepy person who like stands at the end of an alley, and that really scares me, where I'm like, oh my God, that is so creepy. I'm just gonna watch it. But then by the end it's like, and that person is a part of this long line of people who have magic powers, who can, you know what I mean? Like the horror movie starts to get a little like, this doesn't exist in this real world. And then it kind of stops scaring me. Like I need it to just, if it's just like a murderer, that really creeps me out. Like Silence of the Lambs really scares me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's just creepy.
That's the guy who skinned people.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But how was your week?
It's been good. I've been just going over like like information for people. The thing is everyone's so focused on the presidential. I'm like, guys, local and state elections matter. And like the thing is like with the local elections especially, is that like it's usually only old people who read the propositions, and I'm like, I feel like I gotta talk about this, because if it's me up against my grandma, I was gonna say rest in peace, but she's kind of awful. But like, so I'm like trying to go over that. But yeah, other than that, it's been like kind of fun. I have some like fun Sephora events coming up, and then my friends who are musicians are having a show in Los Angeles, so I was gonna go to that. It's just a lot of moving parts, but yeah.
I love that.
Wait, I was gonna say, well, actually, that's personal. It's not my information. No, it's about Naomi, and I just have a lot of people in my life who are getting like more gender confirmation surgeries, and so I've mainly been thinking about that for the past week, and it's been going great. Everyone's loving what's happening, but so I was like, but I don't want to get into. But yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. What about you?
Good. I've been doing good. I was saying before, You know what I'll say? I'm not doing that good.
Okay.
And I'm not going to lie anymore. No, just kidding. I'm fine, but I'm just really burnt out. Like, I feel a little bit of burnout. Just like, I'm so tired. And I feel like every time I look at my phone, I kind of said this last week, so I really need to get it together. Because doing a weekly update, I'm like, Kendall, you're still so dramatic about this. But I feel like every time I look at my phone, there's like a thing that I'm like, someone's like, you need to do this. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
When am I going to have time to do that? And I feel like I'm like doing work in the car on the way to stuff, doing work like I like go to use the bathroom and I need to like sit, like do work in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I'm just like a little overrun, which I feel like happens every year around this time.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited. I have New York Comedy Festival coming up, which will be fun. So I'm looking forward to that. I feel like this month, like October is just going to be really intense. And then I feel like it's going to be really fun. I'm going to Germany in November. I think I told you that. And just a vacation. And
Nice.
I'm so excited. So it's like the storm before the calm.
Yes.
Which will be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm doing good. I'm just like tired. And I started my period today. I'm just like, but I did start watching a show this week that was really fun. Really new to really old news. But I started watching Winona Earp.
I've never heard of that. Winona Earp?
Okay. Rebecca, have you heard of Winona Earp? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course you are. I knew. Because it literally is, it's like.
Is it gay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like that's not the main thing of it, but I mean, for me it is, you know. But I'm like obsessed. It's like super, I mean, it's stupid. Like it's literally stupid.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Like I just love shows that are so stupid. Like I'm obsessed with the show. Like the episode I watched last night, she like, spoilers if you haven't seen, you know, the show and you want to watch it, but there's like, her girlfriend's like in a coma and she like walks in and she's like, are you the doctor, to this woman who's standing there, and the woman's like, no, I'm her wife. Like I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just like, that is so funny, and I do want to know what's gonna happen. Like I just love that. So I'm obsessed with that. So that's been really relaxing to watch. Finished a book this morning.
What was it?
It's so well. I'm reading a book called I'm reading a couple books right now, but then I have my Kindle on my phone. Which I put kind of like silly little books on just to read while I'm like in line at the grocery store.
Yeah.
But I just read, what is it called? It's called
Can we all in the comments though, like, remember when we first started this podcast, neither of us read.
Knew how to read.
And Kendall's reading a book in a grocery store line.
Can you believe that? It's called On the Same Page, and it was a 3 stars on Goodreads. It wasn't that good.
Okay.
It wasn't that good at all, actually. I've really come to find, I'm like, I need to start reading books that take place in a city where the two people, I feel like it's really common in these weird little lesbian books for them to like be a manager at a marketing firm or be like like an influencer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I actually don't want to read that.
Yeah.
Like, I want the characters to be like small town firefighters. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking for. When it feels like too close to my real life, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. These are just like, this feels like I'm reading a book about like friends I have.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, yeah, they like dated and it was normal and it's fine. I think people are trying to make things relatable, but to me, it's just more boring. Like, I read one recently where they like met on a dating app and then both worked just like normal jobs.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to read that.
Yeah.
But it was fine.
Well, like, I was actually thinking about, like, a separate thing, like deception and stuff like that, and, like, how to break an illusion. And so, like, if you're trying to break an illusion, whether it be, like, someone's deceiving you, like poker or, like, magic or something like that, you need a shift in perspective. So the thing is if you're an influencer watching something about influencers, that doesn't shift your perspective at all. So you're automatically entering with the illusion is broken.
Yeah.
You're like, this is not challenging. This is not what I would actually love when it comes to like Hollywood and like portraying an influencer. They always are like portraying the influencers who are the absolute worst.
Yeah.
Or they're using some outdated terminology. It's always like a beauty influencer who's so self-obsessed and, you know, she's going viral. And it's like, I kind of want someone in Hollywood to touch on content creators now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, or just a comedy influencer or someone like that. Like, I'm like, there are different types.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
No, that's true. The girl in this book was a beauty influencer. And there's just lines that are just cringe. And I don't think it'd be cringe if I didn't do this for a job. But it's like, there's a line where it was like, she was talking about her friend who's the influencer. Well, soon-to-be lover.
Okay.
But she was talking about her, and she was like, Gianna was promoting a lipstick brand. She only ever promoted brands that she actually believed in. I was like, okay.
Good for her.
Good for her, but I really could care less. I'm so good for Gianna that she's already rich, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to tell you. But so I just like don't care about that. I need a book that's like so different for my life.
Yeah.
I also read another book that was like completely different, but it took place in New York. And I still was like, I don't want to read this. Like it gives me like anxiety. Like, I'm getting on the train. I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be relaxing. I don't want you to get in a train. I want you to get in your old beat up truck and go down the dirt road.
Yeah.
You know, something that I don't experience that feels relaxing to me. So that's what I'm going to be looking for in my next book I read.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's actually such an incredible like point. Like that's why I loved American Horror Story, but the one that I couldn't watch was American Horror Story Election. Because it was based on, you know, like Donald Trump and all that stuff. And the thing is to have like a sense of illusion, it needs to be a perspective shift. If the thing is literally happening at the same time, you're like, I can't take myself out of this. Or like horror movies that rely on like violence against women, you're like, this is not scary because it is just reality.
It's just real.
Yeah. So like, yeah, it's kind of interesting how people are like, I wouldn't write about something that's currently happening unless you take it to like such a dystopian level that people have to find the nuggets of reality, you know?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like I don't remember what I was going to say, but I agree with you.
Hell yeah.
I feel like I just can't. The books I've been reading recently, I'm like, this is too similar to my life. Too similar. I need there to be drama too. That's why I'm always like, throw a zombie in there.
Yeah.
Throw something in there.
Seriously.
That's what's nice about Winona Earp. It's like each of them almost die every episode.
Okay.
And then it's so dramatic at the end. And it's like, oh, eating it up. I love it.
I love that. I finished a couple books, but they're like math related. One was like Outliers, and I know that that's a New York Times bestseller. So there may be some people who are like, I actually read that.
Yeah.
But like I had like a book haul, like book buying spree the other day, and it's all books that people have recommended to me. But yeah, I've mainly been reading stuff for I'm gonna read Solito, and so I know that that's for everyone's recommended it because Hispanic Heritage Month is actually it's technically ended today, but I'm gonna do all of October. But yeah, so I just have a bunch of math books that are also coming up. They're not. There's like 3 people who are like really genuinely interested in my love for math, because they're like, no one ever talks about this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't.
That's fun. Would you ever take a class, like a college class?
I mean, I have. Like the thing is like I took so many like marketing and business analytics classes that we're all predominantly math and psychology and capitalism based. But I mean, pure math classes, I already know. This is not like, you know, blowing smoke at my own butt, but like I already know pretty much a lot about math. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of more interested in the quantum stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, that sounds really scary to me.
Yeah.
Anyone else is really scary?
What?
Scary stories.
Scary stories.
Honestly, this could be a huge flop because it's like reading these by yourself in a dark room makes them scary. And I feel like reading them in a studio, I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, this one's not scary.
Yeah.
So just like act really scared.
Okay. I mean, you could also like do a voice.
Oh, trust me.
Ooh.
Yeah, and you'll be doing that the whole time. Well, I also will say the reason I think this is a great episode, not to blow smoke up my own ass, but I didn't know this, but a lot of people recently, I've had multiple people tell me that they read Reddit horror stories all the time.
Okay.
Like constantly, and they like will listen to them too. I don't know even how they would do that, but I've heard multiple people like they fall asleep listening to scary stories.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like podcasts or something. And I was like, that is so bizarre.
Yeah.
Like humans' brains work so differently. Why would you do that? That is the scariest thing I've ever, but I've had multiple people tell me that.
Yeah.
So this is apparently a big sector of the internet.
Okay.
And so good for us to go down on it. I'm always just amazed when I go on Reddit. It always scares me how many people there are on Earth and how many of those people are on Reddit, because it's like I went to the scary stories page, and then like anytime I would refresh it, there'd be a new story just posted that's like so long.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so people are just constantly posting scary stories. What a weird thing to do.
People are just always having nightmarish visions.
Right. And then posting it on Reddit for like kind of no one. Like that's what's so interesting.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me. But should we get started?
We are going to get started, guys.
Okay. Okay, I'll read one, then maybe you read one.
Okay.
Okay. Let me pick one that I think is fun. Oh, this one made me laugh. The year my office Halloween potluck ended in horror. Make sure you're in a lighted room, you guys. This is really scary. It was just another Thursday at the office. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead as I sat at my desk staring blankly at my computer screen. I should have been working on my monthly budget report, but all I could think about was the ache in my stomach and the impending doom of the yearly office Halloween party. We get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As if summoned by my thoughts, the office began to buzz with excitement. I could hear the chatter of my coworkers from behind my cubicle, hollow laughter and manufactured enthusiasm as they decorated their cubicles with cobwebs, orange lights, and plastic skeletons. It was the same every year, a forced camaraderie that had always felt more like a chore than a celebration. Hey, Erin, you ready for the potluck? Sarah said from accounting. She called as she passed my desk, her bright orange sweater clashing with the bland beige walls. Wow, they're really describing.
Sarah, you're so washed out.
Yeah, wow.
It's terrifying.
I wasn't expecting in these horror stories for them to be such authors. Like, I really thought they would just kind of like lay it out, but they're really explaining and giving you a vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally, I replied, not bothered to look up from my screen. Okay, rude. My heart wasn't in it. I had felt sick for days, but I couldn't leave. Back-to-back illnesses had drained my sick leave. Okay, this is not... We can probably skip over some of this.
Wait a second. Huh? You didn't bother to look up from your screen, but you knew that Sarah was wearing a bright orange sweater?
Right, it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So this is already, we know this
Well, I guess
author.
peripherals.
Well, yeah, I guess if it was really bright, you'd probably see it. And maybe he'd already seen before.
Yeah.
All I know is he seems like kind of an asshole. Sarah bounced away.
Uh-huh.
She's fun, leaving me with my thoughts. I never understood the appeal of these office gatherings. It was as if everyone had decided that pretending to enjoy each other's company for a few hours was worth the effort of dressing up and bringing food. But I didn't care. The only thing I wanted was to survive the day and go home and crawl in bed. Okay. I'm skipping some of the more
No.
Do you want me to keep? All right. I got insecure. This is boring.
No, you're good.
I clicked through spreadsheets, trying to focus on the report due next week, but my stomach churned uneasily. It made me feel even less inclined to partake in the festivities. Yet there I was, making chocolate chip cookies for the night before I even drizzled an orange icing. Oh, sorry. The night before, I had even drizzled an orange icing and pressed some candy corn into them for good measure. Those look cute, a voice chirped from behind me. It was Susan, the self-proclaimed office party planner. She was wearing a glittery witch hat and dressed covered in plastic bats. Oh, thanks, I replied, forcing a smile. Are you going to try my dish? Susan beamed, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. What did you make? I asked, despite myself. Witch's brew pudding, she exclaimed. It's a secret recipe. You'll love it. I managed to nod, though my stomach turned at the thought of eating whatever concoction she'd cooked up. Sounds... ... Great. Just you wait, Susan winked before skipping off to her desk, leaving me with a strange mix of dread and reluctance. Susan sounds hot. I'll say it.
Why is every single woman he talks to... Oh, God. Sorry, y'all.
I know, he's so done. As the clock inched closer to noon, the buzz of excitement grew louder. I love that everyone in this office is so excited for this party. Permeating every corner of the office, one by one, my coworkers filed into the break room, each unveiling their own Halloween-themed creations. There were the usual suspects, a bowl of ghostly pasta salad, cupcakes decorated like monsters, and red punch that bubbled in a plastic cauldron. The smell of various dishes wafted through the air, competing with the sharp scent of cleaning products and warm copy paper that never quite went away. I stood back, watching as everyone got in line for the buffet table, filling their plates with colorful food, laughing and mingling like they were old friends. They're new friends or coworkers.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider. As I surveyed the spread, I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. My body was protesting, begging me to not eat anything. Just a few more hours, I whispered to my I'm sorry, this can't be a mandatory party. I feel like would be able to not go to this.
Okay, here's the thing. If we're gonna get like realistic, like the fact that they're holding the party during work hours is actually a green flag to me. Had they made everyone stay after and have a potluck unpaid, I'd be like, okay, no, I'm not doing that. But this is literally
during
lunch on a Thursday.
Right.
Yeah, that everyone else planned except you.
Right.
You don't eat anything. It's literally says it's lunchtime. You got to wait 5 hours, sir. But okay.
And he's so mad.
Yeah.
But it's like, he's like so mad because he's sick. I'm like, go home. Like, you don't have to be here. So annoying. The smell of I already read that. As I surveyed the spread, I already said that too. When I finally mustered the courage to grab a plate, I filled it with a few of the safer options, some chips, one of my cookies, and a very light scoop of Susan's pudding. Oh my God, one of his cookies. There's always that bitch at a party who's like only eating the thing they brought. Mm-hmm. Being like, you guys, have you tried this? This is really good. And a very light scoop of Susan's pudding, mostly to avoid her relentless questioning about whether I'd tried it. Hey, Aaron, let me know what you think of the pudding, Susan insisted, appearing beside me like a ghost, her excitement palpable. I changed my recipe this year. Oh, how do you make it? I asked, feigning interest. Oh, you know, she waved a hand dismissively, just an old family recipe, but this year I added a little something to give it a kick. I promise it's delicious. I forced a laugh, the ache creeping back into my gut. Sure, yeah, I'll give it a try. The laughter around me grew louder, but I barely heard it. I was watching the small group of coworkers clustered around the punch bowl. They were sharing stories and laughter, but it felt like a mask. Everyone seemed to be pretending to enjoy each other's company when we were merely coworkers navigating through the corporate grind.
Okay, whatever.
It's like they're really hitting home. We're like, yeah, we get it. He doesn't like this job or working here.
Yeah, dude, your job is monthly budget. Like, I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's not like surgery. Okay, keep
As
going.
the clock ticked towards 1 p.m., I settled at a corner table trying to stay unnoticed. It was quiet here, and I felt at ease from the clamor. I nibbled the chips, but the heaviness of my stomach made it hard to enjoy anything. I began to get that cold sweat feeling you get right before you hurl. Okay. I closed my eyes, tried to take a minute for myself when suddenly a scream pierced the air, cutting through the laughter like a knife. My heart raced as I turned to see Jennifer from marketing clutching her throat, her face turned an alarming shade of red. Oh my God, someone shouted. What's happening? I said. Is she choking? Eddie from IT yelled, rushing to her side. I watched in horror as Jennifer staggered back, her hands desperately clawing at her throat. Panic spread through the room as more people turned towards the commotion. She fell to the ground, grasping for air. Within moments, she lay motionless, her eyes wide and bloodshot. Someone help her, I screamed. Okay, you could. He's still like, I'm too sick. I can't get up.
Yeah.
My voice barely cutting through the rising chaos. The laughter that had filled the air only moments ago turned to shouts and confusion and terror. Few people rushed towards Jennifer, but as they approached, I saw Eddie clutch his stomach, his face contorting in agony. Ah, he groaned, doubling over. A wave of nausea crashed over me, the feeling of panic and fear mixing with already present feeling of illness. My pulse quickened and bile began to rise in my throat. I stumbled backwards, my heart racing. Eddie, Sarah cried, rushing to his side as he fell to his knees, retching violently. The sound was horrifying, guttural, desperate. I could see the remnants of the red punch he just consumed, spew onto the floor mixed with bile. What the hell is going on? Sarah yelled, backing away. I didn't want to believe it, but something felt wrong, more than just the flu season or a simple case of bad food. From the corner of the room, I watched a panic spread like wildfire. People began to collapse one by one, faces turning purple, their bodies seizing as if gripped by an invisible hand. I spotted Susan at the edge of the crowd, her eyes wide with shock. Call 911, someone shouted, but the chaos drowned out by rational thoughts. No one was thinking straight anymore. The office was filled with laughter, and the smell of baked goods transformed into a scene from a nightmare. Sarah fell next, her mouth foaming as she tried to scream, but only choked sounds came from her lips. Panic morphed into pure horror. All my coworkers were now sprawled across the ground, some convulsing, a red, viscous liquid coming from their mouth. Others now lay completely still. I vomited into a trash can, the mix of fear, adrenaline, and illness all finally coming to a head. Aaron, Susan's voice pierced the noise, startling me. You have to try the pudding. Are you fucking insane? I shouted. You're worried about the stupid pudding? Look at everyone. Susan smiled, unnaturally calm in the chaos. Month after month, year after year, birthdays, holidays. I pour my heart into this office. I plan the parties. I buy all the decorations. And what do I get? Nothing. I've never appreciated. Honestly, I like her.
Yeah.
I think they deserved this. But this Halloween is different. Now they'll see they should have appreciated me. I took a step back, my heart racing. The pudding. What did you do to it, Susan? Oh, it's a secret family recipe, Susan insisted, but her frantic demeanor was starting to unnerve me. Starting to?
Yeah.
Said,
okay, now I'm freaking out.
Wrong here. Yeah. Her smile had slipped, revealing something darker lurking beneath the surface. More bodies crumpled to the floor, and the stench of sweat and vomit filled the air. I stumbled narrowly, avoiding tipping over the limp body of Eddie, now lying face first on the ground. My stomach lurched, and I pressed a hand over my mouth to stifle a rising nausea. Somebody help, please, I called out, but no one answered. Everyone was too busy succumbing to the terror that had been unleashed by Susan. I felt trapped, suffocated by the chaos, frozen in fear. The room felt eerie. How long does this go on? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You kind of get it, though, okay? She poisoned them, if you can believe it.
Do you want me to read the rest?
I mean, I literally think that's kind of it.
I wanna read the rest.
Oh, please, if you're in it, go for it.
Aaron, Susan said in a sing-song voice, cutting through my thoughts, and I turned to see her now standing in front of the exit with a manic gleam in her eyes. You don't understand. You're going to try it, whether you want to or not. I shook my head, panic flooding my veins. You crazy bitch. You killed them. You poisoned them. Her laughter echoed off the walls, a sharp, discordant sound that sent chills down my spine. Yes, and now it's your turn. No, I screamed, turning to run. I turned around, frantically looking for somewhere to escape. I dashed into my boss's office, slamming the door behind me and locking it. My mind raced as I frantically tried to figure out my next move. I could hear Susan pounding on the door, her voice rising in fury and desperation. Aaron, you're the only one left. You're all alone. My heart raced as I backed away, the reality of my situation crashing down on me. I glanced around the room, spotting my boss slumped over, completely still, vomit now covering his overpriced desk.
Wow.
I love CB2. Okay, the sight sent a fresh wave of dread through me. He hadn't made it either. The realization that I was alone, trapped in a room with a lifeless body, began to overwhelm me. I felt the weight of despair crushing me, and I fought back tears as I began to come to terms with my own mortality. That was until I spotted the phone, covered in bloody vomit on my boss's desk. God. I picked up the phone, pressing the warm, wet receiver to my ear, and dialed 911.
Warm?
The warm,
Why
wet,
is it
damp.
Warm?
Doing my best to stifle vomits rising in my throat. 911, what's your emergency? The operator's voice finally came through, and I nearly sobbed with relief. People are dead. Please send help, I cried, my voice trembling as I glanced back at the door. Sir, can you tell me your location? I stuttered out the address, heart racing. You have to hurry. There's a woman. She's trying to kill me.
It's also funny because she doesn't have a plan. Like, if she gets in the room, her only plan is to force feed him pudding. Like, she's not going to, like, kill him any other way.
A swift karate chop to Susan's neck will solve this.
Yeah.
Stay calm. Help is on the way. Are you in a safe place? I think so, I whispered, glancing towards the door, but she's right outside. She's fucking crazy. Stay where you are and lock the door. Can you barricade yourself? I looked around frantically, searching for something to use. Just then, the door rattled violently, and Susan's voice slithered through the crack. You can't hide forever, Aaron. You belong with the others. Just a taste. Just a little taste. No, I yelled, my voice shaking. Her laughter echoed outside as the operator's voice continued to try and calm me, but it faded into the background as I focused on the sounds around me. I could hear Susan breathing heavily on the other side. I could hear her shuffling and pacing, looking for ways to get in. I heard a loud crash and the unmistakable sound of glass shattering. My blood ran cold as I realized she found a way in. She had used a fire extinguisher to break through the glass wall surrounding my boss's office. She pushed her way through the blinds, the bowl of pudding in her hands.
Okay, she's in shape.
Yeah.
She smashed through the door and still carrying this pudding?
Just a little scoop. I promise it won't even hurt. My mind raced as I searched the room for anything that could help me. Get away from me, Susan, I yelled. With an unsettling calm, she dipped her fingers into the pudding and lunged forward. Before I could defend myself, Susan was on me. I tried to fight her off, but she was deceivingly strong. Actually, she was very obviously strong. She just broke that fucking glass wall.
I can hold this person down. That's wild.
This is actually pretty graphic. She pressed her fingers to my lips, forcing the sickening mixture towards my mouth.
Wow, she is force feeding it to him. I didn't think it'd work.
I thrashed, but she was relentless, her laughter echoing off the walls, a twisted melody of joy and madness. Okay, dude, her laughter keeps echoing off the walls. How open concept is this office?
I know.
All right, after all these years of giving, it's finally my time. Just then, the sound of police echoed through the office hallways. Show us your hands!
They're covered in pudding. She's like, oh.
Susan's face twisted in rage. No, don't take this from me. Eat it now. The officers approached the office, guns drawn at Susan, but she didn't relent. Instead, she lunged at me harder, eyes wild with fury. A shot rang out, the noise deafening as one of the officers fired. The sound of impact splattered against the wall beside me. Susan crumpled to the ground, her eyes wide. Blood and brains sprayed across the office.
Jesus Christ!
A gruesome painting that covered me in the aftermath of her madness. Okay, first off, we need better police training.
Yeah, what? Right in the brain?
Her only weapon is just a handful of pudding. She's a
They
lone.
said she was armed.
Yeah.
You with a bowl of pudding, you freak.
She's a lone woman with a bowl of pudding. You could just get 2 police officers to tackle her. Okay, but yeah.
That is so crazy to shoot her in the brain.
Seriously.
And honestly, it's so messed up because I believe it.
Yeah, as the officers rushed to my side, the chaos around us dulled into an eerie stillness. They called for backup, but all I could do was stare at Susan, lifeless on the floor, her bowl of poison now spilling onto the carpet. Days later, the investigation unveiled the horror of Susan's obsession. They discovered her home, a shrine dedicated to her coworkers, adorned with clippings, printed emails, photographs, and a diary filled with erratic writings. Each page revealed her unhinged thoughts, rants about how no one appreciated her, how she felt invisible. While I survived, that day was stuck with me forever. After receiving a sizable settlement from the company, I moved cities and now work retail. No more office parties, no more cubicles, and most definitely no more Halloween potlucks.
Oh my God.
You chose the longest ass story there was.
I know. Well, I thought it was shorter, but this is my problem. They were all so long. There was one that was really scary that I was like, oh, this is really scary. And then it was literally like 80 pages long. I was like, this is so weird. Okay, guys, that wasn't that scary, but it was, you know,
I mean,
it's
okay, so I'm
kind
gonna.
of a good, beautiful image and art. It's fun.
I will say, Susan had a point towards the end. You know,
agree.
no one appreciated her. Like, what? Didn't
He
you?
was rude the first 3 pages.
Yeah, you didn't even bother to look up from your desk at these multiple women. You thought that, like, I mean, the thing is they were actually being incredibly considerate. Sure,
Yeah.
befriending someone in an office setting isn't like the best,
Right.
but like if they were doing a potluck on company time, right? It's a Thursday before Halloween, so you're doing like overall budgets for what? That's due mid-October. I don't understand. Like, if you're talking about quarterly budgets, what are you saying? But yeah, you got a marketing team. This is not even like a pretty intense office work culture.
No.
The fact that your voice could echo so many times suggests that doesn't make sense with the amount of cubicles. No, that's like dampening like foam, like
it's
walls.
So funny when you read a book and the author keeps using the same like word or phrase over and over and over again, where you like feel like they learned the word and we're like, that sounds really good. Like the book I just read, she says the word ardently probably 80 times.
Yeah.
And every time she said it, I was like, it really takes me out because and it was similar with this.
Yeah.
The echoing off the walls. Because when does that happen? It also, echoing off the walls doesn't explain anything to me except like it was loud or that you're in a cave. Like those are the only 2 things. Like it doesn't really describe much.
Yeah. I also don't understand. Okay, so like I don't read a lot of fiction, but the thing is you started off with hating Sarah and Susan and all this stuff. But like we need to, I feel like I need more explanation as to why this office culture sucks. Like, oh, like Sarah's just always being fake. You know, she's always talking about how we need to go above and beyond, but shoots down every single creative idea there is. Or, you know, Susan, she plans all these office parties, but she goes around the office beforehand and like kind of, you know, makes us all donate $10 for this god-awful potluck. Like, you need to build up why we hate these people, because it otherwise just sounds like these 2 women who are doing something nice on company time. It's a Thursday before Halloween. Like,
Also, I mean, killing someone at a potluck is kind of a genius way to do it. I'm like, if you poisoned one of the things, it's kind of like, well, there's so many things. How would anyone know who poisoned who?
Yeah, and she did it in a considerable way. The fact that she killed you guys, or a lot of you, on company time means that it's something that happened at work. Had the potluck happened after work at a separate location, you wouldn't have been able to have gotten a lawsuit from the company.
Right.
The fact that she kept it in her murderous rampage.
Professional, very professional.
Yeah, you got a lawsuit because of that.
Very professional. Okay, do you want to read one of the other ones?
Yeah.
This is, okay, these are really not scary. Now that I'm reading them in the daylight, I'm like, okay, this is embarrassing. I read them in the dark, and now I was like, this is so, the potluck one I kind of thought was just funny. Yeah. But these ones I was like, they're scary, and now I'm skimming it, and I'm like, I'm such a loser. These are not scary at all.
You're not. No, I think it's also doesn't help that, and this is just some helpful feedback. When you're laughing and while reading, it's hard, because now you set the tone.
Okay, I'm going to be really scary in the next one.
Okay, just start screaming whenever I'm reading.
Okay, I'll be...
Wait, actually, it might spike the... Okay. I'm a psychiatric nurse, and early in my career, I worked at a residential mental health facility. One of our residents was an elective mute, which means that he couldn't talk. That sounds immediately ableist.
Oh, no.
The term elective mute. But there were no medical reasons as to why. He had spoken earlier in his life, in fact, seemed quite normal back then. But with the exception of being close to 7 feet tall. Okay, what does his height have to do with his ability to speak?
He seemed normal, except he was the tallest man the world had ever seen.
The only thing I can think of is like tall people do usually have extended vocal cords, which usually would mean a lower, deeper voice. But I digress. He'd been raised in the Deep South and joined the military when he was 19. But one night, he vanished. He was declared AWOL, and eventually he was declared missing and dead. Well, if he was declared AWOL, he would have been declared missing.
Also, he wouldn't have been declared dead. They don't just do that, do they? I don't think they just declare people dead.
Yeah, like, you have to find a body to declare... whatever. 10 years later, a 7-foot-tall man walked into a VA hospital emergency room in my part of the Midwest and said to the receptionist, "My name is Marion Duchesne, not the real name. And I've been dead for 10 years.
That is so funny. That's not the real name. Then what the fuck is that name?
Yes. Also, okay, here's the thing. He walks into a VA hospital exactly 10 years later. That means when he went missing, when he was initially declared AWOL, they declared him dead immediately.
Right. That's crazy.
Why
they said, because they just said, enough. We're bored. We're bored of this case.
And also, that's not how the military police works. Okay. And you wouldn't go to, okay. Those were the last words he ever spoke. He was covered with dust, and he was wearing... he was wearing the same clothes he'd been reported to be wearing the night he vanished. So his fatigues... Okay, sorry. His social security number had not been used, and he had no identification on his person. However, they were able to identify him, I guess, via fingerprints. The family was notified, but they said they had already grieved their lost man, and that whomever was claiming to be him simply could not be.
Their lost man. Also, that would never... 10 years... Imagine you lose your child and then 10 years is a long time to grieve.
Yeah.
But it's not unheard of for someone to be found after 10 years.
Yeah. And also.
And then just to be like, I don't even want to see. Maybe it's him, but we've kind of moved on.
Yeah. And if he was declared dead with no body, the family grieved that, and now someone's showing up claiming to be him, I'd be like, I'm on a bus right now.
And they said, we have fingerprint. They were like, it is him. And
yeah.
They're like, we're kind of past that, actually.
They demanded to not be contacted again. Okay, your family just was looking for a reason to cut you off. Okay, Marion paced all day, every day, moving his mouth that looked like talking or muttering, but no sound came out. He had an unnerving habit of throwing his head back with his mouth wide open, as if he were laughing heartily. But not even a breath could be heard.
That scared me when I was alone in the dark. That image scared me. Yeah, it was just like that. If you can't see, Sarah did a really good interpretation of it.
If I talked to him, he appeared to listen, periodically throwing his head back in that laughter-mimicking way of his. He's trying to connect with you, jackass. Okay, sorry. Various medications were tried, but they did not affect him either positively or negatively. Occupational therapy did nothing because Marion would just grin, and unless told to stay put, he'd get up and start pacing again. Also, actually... various medications were tried. They did not affect him positively or negatively. That is actually an incredibly unique result, as like you take a medication that you don't need and it's going to like affect you.
Yeah.
So he needs to be studied. Okay. On my last day at that job, the last thing I saw was Marion pacing in the parking lot, throwing his head back to laugh. Later, I wondered if all along I'd been dealing with a ghost. All these years later, I still don't know.
It doesn't even have an ending.
Okay.
I thought they were going to confirm it was a ghost.
Yes. And so this is how going AWOL in the military is a crime. And so if he would not just be, he would be arrested. He would be in jail, actually. He wouldn't stay at the VA hospital. And also what VA hospital, this is the thing. The VA, military, hospitals are not the same as like civilian hospitals. The thing is, he went AWOL, he's probably going to jail, and that requires some sort of like outpatient. And the military usually doesn't do outpatient because they don't usually acknowledge mental health disorders. Like you can get a Purple Heart for like getting shot in the leg, but not for PTSD because they literally do not register like mental health crimes, like mental health disorders as like. So yeah, he would be in jail or at an outpatient facility. He'd be like. This isn't okay, but yeah. So he was just probably autistic, got lost in the woods, and then just came back and his family didn't love him. This is actually just so devastating for different reasons.
That would be so messed up if you're like mute and you can't speak. You've been missing for 10 years.
Yeah.
Your parents don't give a fuck about you, and your doctor is being like, is he a ghost?
Yeah.
And you can't be like, no, I'm not a ghost.
Yeah.
I'm a person. Why is everyone so mean to me?
Also, a VA hospital is for veterans. And he was dishonorably discharged, I assume, if he went AWOL. So I actually...
Wait, what does AWOL stand for?
Well, it's just like disappearing. AWOL stands for absent without leave.
Okay.
I think...
But they supposedly thought... It's also... This would be a news story. I'm sorry. If a man showed up... Because I guess he wouldn't get in trouble because it seems like they thought he was, like, kidnapped? No. Maybe they just... He, like, vanished.
Why was he covered in dust?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense either. Why was he covered in dust?
Yeah.
He's also just separately kind of a dirty man. But also, even if you're dirty, you're not covered in dust.
Maybe he's just so tall, he kept hitting stuff, and then it just got all dusty.
That is crazy. Okay, there's a link at the bottom, but we cannot read this whole thing. It's way too long, but this one actually freaked me out.
Okay.
So I added it, but it's too long to read. But, like, honestly, the beginning to me, I didn't read the whole thing. So, like, the beginning is, like, the kind of the scary part, I feel like.
Okay.
And I'm sure it gets scarier, but I feel like
Jesus Christ, this
I
is
know,
a novel.
we can't read it. But this is how they all are, I'm telling you. The only ones that aren't like this are the ones that are like, I went to my high school reunion, and on the way there, I picked up a guy on the side of the road who needed a ride back to his house. And then when I went to the reunion, people said, he's been dead for 20 years. Like, all the short ones are literally that.
Yeah. This is r/no sleep, guys. But
so
yeah.
better not be trying to sleep.
No.
Okay. Do you want to play a part in this one? Maybe you can be the guy. Like his words.
Okay, yeah,
when
yeah.
he speaks. Okay. I'm going to be really scary on this one. This is called, My Wife Has Been Peeking at Me from Around the Corners and Behind Furniture. It's gone from weird to terrifying. Scary. My wife Lynn and I have been together for 6 years and married for 11 months. Our entire history together has been very normal, and never once have I noticed any weird behaviors or red flags. I can't stress enough how out of character this whole thing is for her. Lynn is very kind, intelligent, and thoughtful. She's always been the no-nonsense type of person. Being childish or trying to scare me is not something she'd normally do. Sorry. She doesn't even like watching horror movies. When we first started dating, she agreed to watch The Shining with me because she knew how much I loved horror. She was so scared that she didn't even make it through half the movie before we had to turn it off. She isn't into anything creepy and has never been into pranks. It's just not her cup of tea, and that's fine. But that's what was so strange about this. It was so unlike her. I should also add that she's never had any mental health issues as far as I'm aware, and it doesn't run in her family. I know some people are able to hide their mental health problems, but in the 6 years we've been together, I think I'd seen some sort of sign. 2 months ago, I was in the kitchen making myself coffee before work. I was running a bit late that morning and knew I wouldn't be able to make it to Dunkin' Donuts for my usual morning fix. I took a sip of my coffee as I hurried down the hall towards the front of the door. When I happened to notice Lynn peeking at me from around the corner ahead of me, I could only see her eyes and a strand of her long dark hair hanging against a wall. The rest of her body was concealed behind the corner. I nearly spilled my coffee when I saw her. I did burn the shit out of my lips.
Jeez, Lynn,
I said, wiping a few drops of my coffee from my pants.
You scared the shit out of me.
She immediately popped out of view like a little kid that had been caught. I heard her scurry off towards the living room, and by the time I got to the front door, she was out of sight. It was really weird and just totally out of character for her, like I said, but I also found it kind of funny that she was being more playful and a little less serious. I shouted that I loved her and called her a weirdo. As I shut the door behind me, I heard her laughing. Her behavior was a bit odd, but I certainly wasn't something to call a priest over. I forgot about it by lunch, and by the time I got home, she was her normal self. I didn't bring it up, or neither did she, but life went on. The next incident happened 3 days later. It was around 2 a.m., and I'd woken up to get a drink. I was standing at the kitchen island, jug of OJ in hand, when I felt a strong feeling that I was being watched. For whatever reason, I looked down at the floor and saw my wife's smiling face staring back. She was peeking at me from the other side of the island, staring up at me with wide, unblinking eyes and grinning like the Cheshire Cat. I screamed, I'll admit, not out of irritation, but fear. For some reason, at that moment, I was scared. At the sound of my scream, Lynn scuttled backwards out of my view. her hands and feet smacking the tile floor as she hurried out of the kitchen on all fours. I didn't run after her or even yell after her. I just stood there frozen in shock, wondering what the fuck had possessed her to do that. It took me a little longer than I'd like to admit to go back upstairs, but eventually I did. When I got to our bedroom, Lynn was lying on her side asleep, or at least pretending to be. I stood there for a while, watching her breathing to be sure she really was asleep. I had this feeling she might jump out of the moment I got into bed, but she didn't. I climbed into bed, and she didn't even move. Her breathing was soft and deep, and I was starting to wonder if I'd dreamt the whole thing. The next morning, I waited for her to come down for coffee, and after handing her a mug and kissing her cheek, I decided to ask her about it. What was that about last night? I asked, keeping my... Oh, sorry.
What was that about last night?
I asked, keeping my tone light so I didn't offend or embarrass her. She frowned over her cup of coffee, shaking her head like she had no clue what I was referring to.
You were peeking at me again from over there,
I said, pointing to the spot on the floor by the kitchen island. She followed my gaze, and when she looked back, she burst out laughing. She laughed so hard that I couldn't help but join her.
You creep me the fuck out sometimes, you know that?
I said. She giggled and set her cup on the counter, wrapping her arms around my neck. You creep me out all the time, so I guess we're even, she teased. We said our goodbyes and left for work. As I drove, I kept thinking about how creepy it had been seeing her grinning at me from behind the island like that. The sounds her hands made on the floor as she crawled away. I told myself she was trying to be silly, just trying to join in me and my love for horror. It's not like I was afraid of her, but it still didn't sit right with me. I started seeing her peeking at me more and more. Sometimes she'd start peeking out from behind the couch or living room curtains. Once she even managed to get inside her grandmother's old trunk and sit at the foot of our bed. I might not have even known she was there at all had the trunk's old hinges not given her away. She'd had the lid propped up just enough so that only half her face peeked through. She'd been grinning like an excited toddler. It was unnerving. I didn't even know what to say to her. All I could do was stare. When I finally found my voice, I asked her why on earth she was doing this. She didn't answer, but she slowly closed the lid, shutting herself inside the trunk. I just walked away, feeling disturbed. I didn't understand why she was doing it, but clearly it made her happy. I just hoped she would tire of the game quickly. Lynn didn't peek at me for the next 2 weeks. I started thinking that she was done with her weird prank, and I was relieved. We were watching a show on Netflix one night, and I jokingly said that I hadn't seen her peeking at me lately and that she must have given up on her spy game. She looked at me with a small smile and said, "Maybe I've just gotten better at it." I didn't say anything, but I wondered whether or not she was joking. For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about what she'd said. She was still peeking at me and I wasn't looking and I just hadn't noticed. And if so, what the hell was she getting out of this? I started to feel paranoid, constantly checking whether she was watching from around the corner or behind a door. I was jumpy whenever I was home and she wasn't in full view of me. I felt stupid and a little crazy. But after a few weeks without another incident, I began to relax. I stopped checking behind furniture and walls and told myself it was just a bad memory. Then a few days later, things got so much worse. Lynn left to go to a friend's, and I lounged on the couch playing a couple games on my laptop. Around 9 p.m., I hopped in the shower. As I was washing the soap from my hair, I felt that awful feeling that I was being watched. I slowly opened my eyes and almost had a fucking heart attack. Lynn was peeking from behind the shower curtain, her entire head stretched into the shower, leaving just her body outside. Her long hair was hung against the curtain and ends dripping with water. Her mouth hung open in a terrible grin, eyes wide and red as if she hadn't blinked in a while. I screamed and jumped back against the wall. She didn't move, nor did her smile waver. Her makeup ran down her cheeks in 2 black streaks. She stood giddy and completely deranged. I was fucking terrified. We stood like that for a few moments, neither of us saying a word. Finally, although, have you ever, someone's in the shower, or, you, walk up behind them and you know that they don't know you're there, but then you, don't know what to do because you're like, no matter what I do, I'm going to scare you?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what happened. I don't know.
If Naomi was doing this consistently, well, first off, I would have had an intervention after this first event. I know that Naomi's adventurous and playful, but I'd be like, don't fucking do this. The fact that he hasn't had a serious, dedicated conversation with her.
Yeah.
I mean, dude.
Yeah.
Wife's a creep.
Yeah. Or maybe you're just not communicating. Maybe she thinks you like it. There'd be no way to know. Maybe she doesn't even like it. Maybe she just feels like you want this.
Yeah. Or this is a very traditional. This is literally gaslighting, which is really fun.
It's kind of creepy though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. A second later, the bathroom door slammed shut hard enough to rattle the mirror. I screamed again and jumped out of the shower to lock the door. I stayed inside the bathroom for over an hour. Maybe I overreacted to some of you.
What? Who's
Wait,
this
what?
is overreacting?
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, I see it. But joke or not, I wasn't going to put up with this crazy shit anymore. And that's why I kept telling myself as I paced the bathroom, stopping to listen at the door every few minutes. Suddenly I heard muffled sounds and I pressed my ear to the bathroom door, straining to listen. I couldn't hear anything, but I envisioned Lynn standing on the other side of the door, giggling at her joke. I felt a surge of anger. I was beyond pissed at being made to feel scared in my own house and made me hide in the bathroom for an hour. All for what? Some joke? If it was a joke, it was an awful one.
What the fuck, Lynn?
I snapped.
This shit is getting real fucking annoying.
I waited for her to apologize or call me a jerk, but instead I heard a faint moan. So quiet I wondered if I'd heard it at all. And then complete silence.
Lynn?
I called out, not being able to hide the shakiness in my voice. I got no response, just my own heavy breathing.
I swear to God, just fucking stop it.
I yelled, pounding my fist on the door. I waited to hear for her to cuss me out, something I would expect from me talking to her like that. I never screamed at her before, but there was nothing, just the occasional drip from the shower head. I won't deny that I was scared, too afraid to open the damn door and face my own wife. I waited another 30 minutes or so, which feels like a fucking lifetime when you're scared. Finally, I decided I wasn't going to spend the night hiding in my bathroom, so I got down on my knees and peered under the door. I almost expected to see her face peeking back, but thankfully I didn't. I could see straight down the hall to the top of the stairs, but no Lynn. I didn't know if I should be happy about that or not. I looked for a few minutes waiting to see her head pop up over the step, but it never came. I stood up, my hand covering the door, and mentally prepared myself to open it. I slowly turned with the lock, shaky fingers, and was about to yank it open when I heard a sound that still makes me nauseous when I think about it. A moan louder than before, but this time I was able to tell where it was coming from. I turned my head at the closet door as if in slow motion and locked eyes with my wife, who was peeking at me from the slight gap. Her eyes were still wide as ever, and her mouth was hanging open in the most grotesque, gaping smile I'd ever seen. I didn't even scream. I was too scared for that. Her hands were clasped to her chest, body trembling with sheer delight, as if you could barely contain the excitement. A short, raspy moan bubbled up from her throat, deep and raw, sending shivers through my body. It kind of goes on. It goes on like this for a long time. She basically just keeps doing that.
His wife is a creep, and he refuses to. Okay, yeah. Can we talk?
Scary.
I love you. Please call me. I'm really worried. Okay, yeah. Let me scroll down to the bottom. How does it end? Okay.
Oh, so then he goes to his brother's house.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, help me.
Yes.
And then they go back because he's like stays at his brother's house for a while.
Uh-huh.
And then the brother comes back and Lynn's like under the bed freaking out. And I think she like, and she's like bleeding.
Uh-huh.
Jesus, Lynn, Chris said, you playing hide and seek? I reached back and pushed him towards the steps. Move your ass, Chris, I said quietly but firmly as I could. Lynn bobbed her head in a fast, sharp motions and began to grin, stretching her mouth open wider so that her chin seemed to touch her chest. Okay, that's disturbing looking.
Her chin touched her chest?
That's a good impression, Sarah. That is scary. I heard Chris mutter a prayer and then was running down the stairs. I stood at the top. I could not deal with... This is no judgment to anyone who's religious, but I feel like I always hear that where it's like a really intense scenario where we need to like act quick.
Yeah.
And like someone in a movie starts like praying. I would be like, we don't have time.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have time. You have to do it while we're walking.
Yeah, I hate when people in horror movies have no sense of urgency. I'm like, you know what? You deserve to die. I don't normally victim blame, but here's the thing. If we're being chased, okay, fight or flight is an evolutionary thing, right? And so, like, if we're being chased and your fight or flight has not been activated, your adrenaline is not pumping, you still have the wherewithal to squat and pray.
Yeah.
You actually, this is a natural selection. I'm sorry, I'm going to leave you behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the movie? It just came out. It's called Speak No Evil.
Yes.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Did you like it? I felt like in that movie, which... I give them, that's the movie where if you haven't seen it, they go to these, they're not strangers, but they're pretty much strangers. They met them like on a vacation briefly.
Oh, wait, no. I've seen Speak to Me.
Oh, I'm talking
Never
about
mind.
Speak No Evil, which is, it's a horror movie that just came out. But they go to these people's house in the middle of Italy. I don't really know, in the middle of nowhere. And slowly realize they're going to be killed. But the whole time, they're like, I'm getting a bad feeling. And they're like, should we go? And they're like, let's stay another night. And you're just like, what are you doing? Like, go home.
Yeah, that's my thing. I cannot, at this point in my life, be peer pressured. If I want to leave anything, whether it be an event, whether it be my own doctor's appointment, I will not be like, so guys, gut check. Do we all want to get an Uber in maybe 30 minutes to an hour? I'm gone. So like if I don't care, I'll actually fly back to America. You're like, Sarah, we literally split the Airbnb costs. I'd be like, I'm actually going to write you a full apology and, reimburse you for whatever I may have like slipped out on. But I actually could not stay there any longer.
Yeah, Well, I feel like that's what I'm working on, like in therapy, because I feel like I do have good gut instincts, but I really don't listen to them, like ever. And honestly, as I'm saying it, I'm like, I would be the person in a movie that would be like, this person seems like a murderer. And then they would be like, just stay a little longer. And I would be like, okay, no, sure, fine. Like, I feel like I always get a gut instinct immediately. And then it's like 4 months later, I'm like, I need to get out of this situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think with autism, I just immediately trust my gut. I'm like, that person seems off. And not like off it, like there's probably check their browser history. They're probably a really big creep. Like, I am gone. That's actually something I'm working on in therapy, is giving people a second chance and benefit of the doubt.
We're doing opposites.
Yeah.
I'm giving people 8th chances when they've slapped me across the face. Just kidding. No one's ever done that. But like really, you know, they're just really laying it out. But I also am working on being like, even if they're not, it's like I feel like I need this really good reason. You know how people will say like, oh, I wish my partner had just cheated on me or something.
Yes.
Like, just make it so easy. I feel like I have that, like, with people where I'm like with friends where I'm like, I'll let them just kind of be mean to me for a really long time.
Yes.
And then I'm like waiting for them to do something really bad. And then I feel like I can be like, okay, you need to go. But I feel like now I'm working on being like, even if you just kind of don't like them, you actually don't have to hang out with them.
Yeah. That is true.
Like, even if your gut is just like, because I think I was like, I would have a gut instinct, but then I would like be like, but what are the facts? Like, what have they really done? And it's like, well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to hang out with that person. You know what I mean? It's not like a law.
Yeah, I don't, in the case of safety specifically, if someone doesn't take their own safety seriously, I don't want to hang out with them because like that means you're probably going to be more likely to endanger my life.
Yeah.
I don't mind if you have like these, you know, weird or inconsistent, you know, these tendencies. But like if we're in a dangerous situation and you're kind of like, haha, like laughing it off, that's going to be my thing where I'm like, okay, no, I care about my life. You don't care about yours. I will try to get us to safety.
Yeah.
But after this, I don't know if we can see each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back in this story before she's under the bed covered in blood. Just the shower part, like to the shower part. If Naomi did that, what would you do?
Oh, soap in her eyes. Well, okay.
But like in this situation, would you be like, we're done?
Wait, sorry. Soap in her eyes, the creepy lady. If Naomi's pronouns are not she, her. But okay, yeah. If I was the man, I'd put soap all in her eyes. Yes, I would absolutely be done. Well, actually, the thing is I would not be in this situation in the first place. Because if my partner was immediately starting to act like a creep, I'd sit Naomi down and be like, this makes me wildly uncomfortable. If Naomi's response to me being wildly uncomfortable is just a creepy smile, I'd be like, okay, listen, I know that you just signed onto the lease, but you actually do have to move out.
You would.
But the thing is I understand you need 30 days and I will help you look for a place.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how would you go about dealing with this?
Well, there's a line somewhere up in here, I'm pretty sure, where she's like, I was trying something new. Like, I thought you might want this, whatever. I don't know. This would creep me out so bad. And I like I think I would end things because I think I like don't think stuff like this is funny. Like, I'm like, if you are trying to make me feel a negative emotion, like I'll like jump out at Jordan ever so often, like, you know, whatever, and vice versa, but like very not consistently. But I feel like but also it makes us like laugh. Like if I was like, it really upsets me. Yeah. And then they kept doing it, I would be like, that's so mean. Like, I don't want to date someone who wants me to feel bad. Yeah. I am like being, if any person who makes me feel paranoid in my own home is immediately the enemy, because your home is supposed to be your safe place. Like, I understand like one-off pranks, like I love that if Naomi were to like try something scary, but if like they are making me scared to the point I'm paranoid, that is a form of psychological torture, manipulation, and so like that is abusive. Well, that's like when I see these prank channels and I'm like, honestly, obviously they're all fake because it's like they make content every single day. Yeah. But a lot of people don't think they're fake and they're like, this is so cute. Where it'll be like a person laying bloody on their bathroom floor. Yeah. And they're like, the way that they reacted, I'm like, that's crazy. Like that, if you actually think this is real and you think that's cute, like something is wrong with you. Like pranking your partner to make them think you're dead is like not a prank. Like that is so scary, like genuinely so scary. It'll give you like actually PTSD, and that's what people don't talk about. But even you know the worst prank that ever happened to me? What? I was on a road trip, me, Jordan, and our friends Colin and Andrew, and they gave me this bao bun that was it was like a chocolate bao bun, but they all decided to tell me it was like a meat one. And so they were like, it's like a barbecue meat bun. So I was eating it, and it just like really fucked with my brain because I was like, it was
mushrooms?
chocolate. No, it was chocolate. Like
Sorry.
it was like a dessert one. But they told me, they knew that, but they were pranking me like, no, it's meat. And so I was eating it, and I was like, it makes your brain be so weird because I like tasted a little meat because my brain was being like, it's meat. But I was like, this is really like chocolatey. And then it started to really gross me out because I was like, this meat is chocolatey.
Yeah.
And then I got scared I had COVID on the car ride because I was like, something's wrong with my taste buds. And I like really spiraled. I was like, guys, I think I need to get tested for COVID. I'm like so scared I probably made you all sick. And then Jordan was like, well, let me try it, which should have been my red flag, but I'm so gullible because Jordan doesn't eat red meat. So I don't know why they would have agreed to eat this. But I was like, okay. They tried it and they're like, no, it tastes like chocolate. And I was like, so scared.
Yeah.
And then finally they were like, we were just joking. But it really fucked me up.
Yeah. I think gaslighting neurodivergent people is fucked up because we already question almost every part of reality that now you're like, oh my God. It's
I was like, I'm so easy to prank. Like you could right now be like if right now you were like, it's not called the BCC Club. It's always been CCB Club. Even though it's right behind me, I would have been like, really? Like I really believe anything.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
I think I've been just so gaslit and misled by people my entire life that if someone tried to prank me right now with gaslighting, I'd probably, and this is not a normal, I'd probably punch him in the throat. And I think but that's the thing. No one ever tries that on me.
Yeah.
I don't like being pranked. I can't remember the last time I've been pranked.
I'm trying to think. I don't prank people ever because I remember one time, if my mom does listen to this, so I'm always like hesitant to tell childhood stories because I'm like, I probably am misremembering this. So Mom, let me know if I misremembered this. But it was like I prank called my mom when I was like a kid, and I don't remember what I said at all, but I'm sure it was like not tasteful because I was like in 4th grade.
Yeah.
And my mom did not get mad at us often, at me because I was so sweet and the baby.
Yes.
Didn't get mad at me often, but she got, I remember like really mad and was like, prank calls are not funny. Do not ever prank call me ever again or anyone ever again. And to this day, I like really would hesitate to prank call someone.
Yeah.
But unless it's like very much in good nature. But it's like, what is good-natured pranks? I'll do some fun ones. The other day I was in the car with Jordan and there was like some song playing. I don't remember what it was. I'm really bad at pranks too because I immediately give it up. Like I can't lie for longer than 2 seconds. I get so like scared. But it was some like song, like R&B song. And I was like, do you know this originally was a Christmas song?
Oh yeah.
And then they were like, really? And I was like, yeah, when it originally came out, it was like a Christmas song. But then they like remade it but it originally was a Christmas song. And then I was like, I'm just kidding. And I was so proud of myself.
Oh my gosh.
And they were like, what? Oh, okay.
Wait, I guess, pranked my mom one time. We were in the wilderness and she had a bunch of mosquito bites. And I was like, if you put chapstick on your mosquito bites, they'll stop itching. And then she tried it and they stopped itching. And it turns out she just had really dry skin. And so like it actually was kind of helpful. And she's been doing it ever since.
Wow. Are you affected by the placebo effect?
Yes.
I'm like heavily affected by it. Like if you tell me something works, I like believe it 100%. I do mouth taping when I sleep. But
that's not placebo. That's real.
But then some people are like, it's not. And I'm like, either way, it makes me sleep better. And if it's, I would believe that mentally I just get myself into a place where I sleep better because I think I'm going to sleep better with this.
The people who think that mouth taping aren't real probably have like a deviated septum or sleep apnea and they should not be doing it.
Do you have mouth tape?
No, but breathing through your nose is incredibly helpful.
Because I sleep with my mouth wide open. Like it is scary. And I used to sleepwalk. I did have a doctor once tell me I had sleep apnea, and I should get it tested before I mouth tape. Yeah. But I felt like I used mouth tape and it worked so well that I was like, well, it's probably fine. But I sleep so much better with it. And I'm sorry, my jaw is more snatched now that I have mouth tape. Yeah. But I also think it like makes me sleep better because when you tape your mouth closed, you have to go to bed. Like, you can't like tape your mouth shut and then like hang out for a couple more hours.
I mean, you could if you just
But
read.
it feels crazy. It's like you can't talk. You can't really, and it's like kind of suffocating. So it's like you want to be, but now I'm like, it's like kind of comforting now to have it. But I sleep so much better.
You should just do breathe right strips as well.
I do those too.
Okay. Wow.
I know. I look like a freak when I'm in it. Yeah. Has it put a damper on intimacy? Sure. The fact that I tape my mouth closed every single night.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely affected some things.
Well, I understand. I'm trying to think of the placebo effect thing that you said. I remember one time at my friend's, in middle school, my friend told me that eating a lot of hot peppers could get you drunk. And then we just ended up eating really spicy peppers, and we're like, I think we're feeling it. Meanwhile, we're just like, literally, our mouth is on fire.
You're like about to shit yourself.
Yeah, the altered consciousness is just from pure heat. It's not from,
Well, but it's so interesting how things can like make you feel high, though. Like even like wasabi to me, because I don't like spicy. I'm like real baby when it comes to spicy foods. Like I really can't have them. But wasabi, I've always been able to do because it's spicy, but for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It's like so spicy. And when we were at VidCon, actually, I like had some, like a lot of it by accident, because it was like, you know when your sushi smushes into the container and there's wasabi all over it?
Yeah.
There was one piece that was like covered in wasabi and I ate it. And for the 2 seconds, it was so intense. And I did kind of feel like horny for it. Like I was kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like it felt kind of crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I feel kind of high. Or like when I drink like a energy drink.
Yeah.
I feel, I'm looking at you.
Oh, dude.
I feel kind of like drunk a little bit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like speaking of, like getting sober, cracking open a Red Bull is like literally like every person who's ever gotten sober is like, yes.
It's so bad. I need to seriously, like, I was telling someone this. I was on set the other night. I was telling this girl, I was like, she was like, oh, do you want me to get you some coffee? And I was like, no, I already had, like, I can't have any coffee because I already had a Celsius this morning. And she was like, oh, you got to get off Celsius. I was like, I know. It is so bad. And I don't mean to compare addiction to this, but it's the only thing I've ever been able to compare it to, where I'm like, when I don't drink a Celsius, because I've been like, I gotta stop drinking these. Like, I don't want to be addicted to this. Like, I don't want to have this. Like, I need to have. It's just too much. It's too stressful for me, and it is not good for me. I'm pretty sure. And so and it makes my days hard because I don't want to be drinking a Celsius and then taking my ADHD medication because it's like not good to take those together, but I like have to. And so I've like tried to stop drinking Celsius and have like other forms of caffeine that are less so. And I get literally the flu. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
I get a migraine that is like so bad. Like 28 hours after not having a Celsius, insane migraine, feel like I'm going to throw up, like can't even work. And I will like crawl my way to a 7-Eleven and get a Celsius. And it is like, I feel like when I used to watch my like sister grow up and like crack open a cigarette pack, like it's the same aggressiveness as me like buying it and like cracking it open. And then as I'm drinking it, it's like it all goes, it's like all gone. I feel like amazing. And I'll be like, fuck, that's so good. And it's like, this is really scary. Like, this is a true addiction.
Well, I mean, that kind of, yeah.
It literally is. I mean, obviously it's not as, it's not like life altering it's not altering my life. So I don't mean to compare, but I am it makes you understand why people like can't quit stuff. Because you're like, bitch, I don't have time to have, and like every time I'm like, I need to quit, I'm like, not this week. I don't have time to have the flu this week.
Yeah.
And also, I don't ever, and then it's like, well, I have an off day. Okay, I don't want to have an off day and have the flu.
Yeah.
And it could all just be over if I just like drank this.
Yeah. No, that's actually the essence of addiction. There is no good time to get sober because everyone's like, fuck, do I want to go through withdrawal for like, but it's the holidays. There's no real good time to, actually probably spring is the best time to go cold turkey on something. Yeah.
But it just feels like such a quick fix. And then other people I think if there was like a movement of everyone quitting it, it would feel maybe a little easier. But then I open my TikTok app and there's a mommy vlogger cracking open a Celsius. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'll just go grab one. And they're everywhere. It's like, then I go to the gym.
Yeah.
Haven't had my Celsius. And they have Celsiuses up for, I'm like, well, I can't.
Yeah.
I gotta get one. It's like so bad.
No, yeah, that's like why alcohol culture is so hard as a sober person.
Yeah.
Alcohol is literally everywhere. But yeah, I mean, there's like sober October, there's dry January. You could just swap out the alcohol for like Celsius. But then, yeah.
It's just so, what I need to do is get like but this is always my fix. My fix is always like, what I need to do is spend a bunch of money and set up this thing in my house. But I'm like, I need to get like a coffee maker in my house.
Yes, actually. You have a coffee machine?
No, I don't. And I don't know why. I just like, So then it becomes easier too because I feel like I'm so busy. I'm always like running. So it's like so easy to just have a Celsius in the fridge.
Yeah.
And like grab it and go and then like feel like I'm on crack.
Yes.
It feels great. But if I have like a coffee machine, that would feel like I can do that. But I could do even now it's like I could make tea at home.
Yeah.
But it does not hit the same. It's like you can't go from like having, it literally feels like you're doing a drug to having like a cup of tea. I know. It's so bad. It's so bad. So anyways, I got to figure. But I don't want to. Even now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, God, I wish I could drink one right now.
Just get a Keurig. It's actually like it'll save you money.
I know. Well, that's the thing. It's so expensive. It's so expensive. Anyways.
But actually, that's how I know that you're not addicted to caffeine. Because the thing is if you were like a hardcore addict, you would probably have like a coffee machine in your house. Like if I was, I mean, it's like I guess I would be an alcoholic if I only went to bars, but I'd probably have like a lot of alcohol at home. So you should probably get a Keurig.
And also, I see these mommy vloggers, they're having a Celsius in the morning, Diet Cokes all day, cups of coffee throughout the day. I mean, they're probably having I remember there was one mommy vlogger who did like how much caffeine I have in one day, and she did like 700 milligrams of caffeine, which is so dangerous, like literally crazy, could kill you. And I am good about being like, I have a Celsius in the morning, and I do not have any more caffeine. Like, I am like, I don't do more caffeine.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I do a Diet Coke. But, like, I don't do, like, coffee on top of that. I know people who do 2 Celsiuses. Like, that's scary to me. Like, I would do that. But, so I'm fine, you guys. Like, it's fine. But before we wrap it up, we talked about these scary stories were kind of a bust, you guys. And I'm sorry. But I want to ask if you have you had any scary stories? I know that one about in the bathroom. You've told that before.
The bathroom?
Where there was like an alien woman there.
Oh, yeah.
That was scary.
Well, now I just thought about that.
Sorry.
Scary story. Okay, this one actually kind of pisses me off, mainly because how people on TikTok reacted to it. Okay, so when I was still drinking, I was drinking all day, and it was around midnight, right? And so this is actually part of my stand-up set. I walked across the street to the 7-Eleven to get a pack of cigarettes, right? Because after a day of drinking, you want a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
So I rip open the cigarettes and I put the plastic for the cigarettes in my backpack. That's actually important to this story. And I'm smoking a cigarette midnight, walking back to the apartment, and I'm 10 to 20 feet away from my front door. And when you've been drinking, you're kind of out of it. And I was kind of dazed. I see this dude, right? And I realize there's a dude in front of the apartment, and he's gesturing, and I'm he's talking to himself. And so I was like, oh shit, he's, and then I realized he's gesturing with a gun.
Yeah. He's
talking with a gun. He's and so I freaked out and my brain shut off. And so in that moment, you guys are going to judge me for this, I was people who are upset love cigarettes. And I was, keep in mind, I'd been drinking all day, right? And I handed this dude a cigarette.
Yeah.
This man with a gun. He looks at me, he shoos me away a little bit.
Yeah.
And so my brain still gun, alcohol, I still have my lit cigarette that I'm smoking, and I'm too, when your hand is locked in place.
Yeah.
I couldn't flick the cigarette, so I put my cigarette in my backpack, and it lit the paper on fire, and it lit my backpack on fire, and I put my backpack back on.
Oh my God, Sarah! Why would you do that?
I was drunk and scared. There was a man with a gun. The thing is this is not rational. Fight or flight.
No, I know.
My brain was freezing.
But that is really, feels like your body would not allow. Did it burn you?
Oh, it burned through the backpack. And I, when I got inside, I quickly took everything out because things were on fire. But then I posted that story on TikTok, and the main comments were, "That's what you get for littering." And I was like, I didn't even litter.
What?
The cigarette was still in my backpack.
Yeah, that's the whole problem. I debate you should have littered.
I know, I should have, but I don't. So it was terrifying because...
Damn, that's scary. I remember you told me part of that. You told me about the guy with the gun before, which is crazy, but I don't think I remembered the backpack part.
Yeah, the backpack, the thing is why it's part of my stand-up set is because I looked up on the Citizen app that night, and there was no gun violence in Los Angeles. And I was like, I think I changed that guy's mind because he saw me put a lit backpack on my back after trying to offer him a cigarette.
He said, actually, my life isn't so bad.
Yeah, he's like,
not as bad as this lady's.
You know what? I'm going to talk it out. There's obviously people with bigger problems. What about you?
I was just thinking, I don't feel like I have anything too crazy, but what I will say is I had, growing up, a lot of experiences where, and maybe I've said this before, but, I used to struggle with OCD, very much so. And one thing that I was very afraid of was that because you get diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Yes.
When you're like, I think I've probably told you this before, but like when you're like 20, I can't remember the age, but it's like 20 to 28 or something like that. Which feels crazy to me. Even to this day, I'm like, the fact that especially that age where it's like your life is starting. It's like you've done your childhood. You could be the most just like delightful person. And then you wake up and you're literally have schizophrenia. And you're like, that is so crazy. And obviously you can like be medicated and live like not a horrible life. It's not like it's a life sentence or anything, but it'd be a different life. Like that is very scary to me.
Yes.
And just terrifying in general. So I was always so scared of that. And so as a kid growing up, I think there were multiple moments that like, this is not even really a ghost story, but in the moment I was like, I've hallucinated.
Yeah.
Where like I would be walking and I would turn and like someone would be walking behind me and then clearly they turned somewhere else. But then when I look back, they're not there anymore. And I would be like, I have schizophrenia. This is the beginning.
Yeah.
And there was one moment where I was riding my bike when I was a kid and I was riding my bike on my street. And there were two people like 100, 200 feet away dressed in those like Party City crayon costumes. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Or Halloween, what are they called? The Halloween pop-ups.
Okay.
And you know what I'm talking about, where they sell all the costumes.
Oh, yeah.
They sell those like crayon costumes. It was two people in those crayon costumes. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So I was riding my bike and I like looked up and they were like yelling. I remember. And I remember going, oh, there was a guy that lived near me on my street who went to my school who I knew was throwing a Halloween party and I knew because I wasn't invited to it. And I remember going, oh, I bet they're like, I had a whole thought where I was like, they're probably at that Halloween party. So I like turned my bike to go because I want to run into them. And then I turned back like 2 seconds later and they weren't there. Uh-huh. And I literally went home and like told my mom, like, I think I like was hallucinating. And I think I was like scared I had schizophrenia.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really a haunted story, but it scared the shit out of me. And then now I'm like, well, maybe they were crayon ghosts.
Yeah, maybe. The thing is they probably just turned a corner and then you were like, oh, shit. But that is scary. I told you I used to be worried I was a sociopath, but not so much worried as more like it was just like, oh, God, I have a hard time with emotions. And then I called my dad and I was like, Dad, we're sociopaths. And he's like, what? That's what you think of me?
Oh.
And I was confused as to why he was offended and sad. I was like, we literally have such a hard time with, and then I realized we're both autistic.
Well, I also grew up in a town that has a lot of haunted stuff. Like we've been in books, we've been in TV shows. Like my town because it's very old and it's a gold mining town. And there's a hotel specifically in my town that is like famously very haunted. And my sister worked there as a receptionist for a little bit. And although I was a child, so looking back, I'm like, she might have been just lying to be like, this is funny.
Yeah.
But I like to, when you're talking to a third grader, I don't know. But she was like, yeah, I've seen a woman in a wedding dress like walk down the stairs. Saying this now out loud, I'm like, there's no way that happened. But there was a lot of like ghost talk. And I think ghosts don't really scare me. I also did theater for a long time at the oldest theater in California, or maybe America. I can't remember, but that was like in my hometown. I did theater there, and it was very creepy. And people would talk about like haunted stories and things that had happened and how creepy the vibe was. And I would feel like when I would walk down to the dressing rooms by myself, I would feel like that, like people are watching me feeling. But I also feel like that could be very much like placebo effect once again.
Yeah.
But I feel like ghosts don't scare me that much. Like I don't think. Bad ghosts obviously scare me, but I think if I found out my house was haunted with just like a normal person, I don't think that would freak me out. Would it freak you out?
If I found out that my house was haunted, the thing is I've never been like really scared by ghosts. I've talked about how I used to bury myself in the dirt at cemeteries.
Yeah.
But like whenever I go to a cemetery, I feel very at home, like I should be there. And it's like the most relaxed. It's like it feels like Ativan. But if there was a ghost in my house, it's a historic building. And But I think I'd be like more mystified and probably read a book on it. And I'd be like, what unfinished business do you have here?
Yeah.
And then I'd be more curious. I'd look into the history of the building, who rented that, the attachment to the place. Oh, she was wrongfully evicted. And so she threw herself off. And I was like, you know what? Right. Tenants' rights. And also the thing is, squatters' rights are very real, even for ghosts.
Right. Yeah, they're very real for ghosts.
Yeah, you lived here your entire life. And the thing is I feel like you're restricting yourself by like keeping yourself. And so I'd actually feel compelled to help. If you were evil, I would also feel compelled to help. Because I'd be like, so give me the rundown. What's happening behind the scenes, you know?
Totally. Yeah. Well, rapid fire, what's your best Halloween costume you ever had?
Best Halloween. Oh, God. Oh. The sexiest I've ever felt was in college when I was a Victoria's Secret model. But I was Sexy Patrick one time.
That's a good one.
Here's the thing. I'm very much of the mindset that Halloween, I know this is unpopular. If you're a funny person, I strongly believe that you should be always sexy for Halloween. Because here's the thing. You are funny 365. Like, this is your one day off. That's also cosplayers, I know, talk about this. Maybe not the sexy element.
Yeah, because they're always sexy.
Yeah, I would just, since they dress up so often, this would just be like maybe either casual or like really take it there. Whenever I see someone who's very funny doing a funny Halloween costume, I'm like, this was your day off.
It's so I don't dress up. When I was a kid, I always did a funny Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Or just a stupid one. My mom always handmade my Halloween costumes.
That's really sweet.
Here's what I'll say. 4 years running, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and freshman year won the Halloween costume contests. That's what I'll say. But they were always fun.
Yeah.
But now as an adult, I celebrate Halloween big. Like, we're doing all the Halloween events in LA. Our house is decorated. We're doing little event. Like, we're doing it all. But Halloween day, I do not dress up ever because I'm like, nothing sounds less exciting to me. Yesterday alone, I was in 4 different costumes for different things. But recently I've been like, I want to do like a slutty costume.
Yes.
I want to wear like assless chaps, be a cowgirl. Maybe I'll go as Winona Earp.
Do it.
I'm just kidding.
It's actually one of my like favorite things when someone who is very funny year round does a slutty horror thing on Halloween. I'm like,
that's what I got to do.
What is it like?
Year.
What's that like? It's like the end of a rom-com where like they finally. I'm like,
ugh.
Yeah.
All right,
Sorry.
next year. Because I never get to do that either. I never get to be slutty. I never get to be slutty.
Be slutty.
Oh, I can't
be
wait.
strap-a-rone.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
But I never go to a party. This is the thing. I'm always like, I can't go to a Halloween party. I'll go to Halloween parties like before Halloween. But anything on Halloween, I'm like, I don't want to leave the house. In LA, it is so intense. The traffic is so bad. And you have to pay like $80 for parking. So I'm always like, what Halloween costume should I do? And then I'm like, what am I going to spend money on? I'm not going to wear this out of my house.
Well, go to like the gay areas. Everyone's, you know that there's going to be gay people who are arguably like naked.
Yeah.
So by comparison, whatever you would wear would be tame. And that's how like, if I go to WeHo, I mean, the thing is I don't stay out late anymore because everyone gets drunker. But I do want to just be slutty and kind of walk around
Slutty
WeHo.
Shrek could be fun.
Yeah.
I know that's not new, but I feel like green would look good with my eyes because my eyes are green.
Oh, yes. Something I hate on Halloween. I know that people are going to be like, Sarah, it's not that serious. Whenever I see a really bad in the cheap way costume where someone just writes Shrek on a shirt and then they're just like, if it's a girl, that's funny. If it's a guy, are you kidding me? It's like when men wear like, khakis to the Oscars. I'm like, fuck you.
It's actually so irritating how men are always just like, everything is annoying to them. It's like, because I feel like another trope is like, oh, the family, like you see family costumes and the man is like, kill me. Or he's wearing like the most lame part of the costume where everyone's dressed up and he's wearing a t-shirt that like says Shrek.
Yeah.
And you're like, or just a green shirt. I'm like, why is it that everything is like the man doesn't care and the woman does? It's like, why don't you fucking care about Halloween? What's feminine about Halloween?
Yeah.
Nothing. I guess there's something feminine about caring.
Yeah.
Which, okay. That sucks for you guys.
You could be objectively horrifying. And the thing is you're already a man, so you're already halfway there. Why just go the extra mile? Put some blood or some prosthetics or whatever. Yeah. It's not even traditional makeup. It's blood, dude.
Yeah. Well, we're over time, but thank you so much for being here on this spooky episode. Here's what I'll say. If you're writing spooky stories online, get better and make them damn shorter. Because you made me look like a fool on today's episode. Oh, you're doing the smile. Sarah's doing the creepy smile. Thank you so much for being here. We hope you have a happy Halloween. We hope that you are just scared out of your damn mind.
I hope you're slutty, and I hope it's scary and gay or straight, and I hope that your husband goes full like nuts to guts with the costume.
And put out some candy.
Yeah.
Let's get back into community, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm the only one in my building who puts out candy.
Oh, and also if you're going to be referencing something in your Halloween costume, don't be pretentious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we have known that that's from that one Golden Girls episode
Right.
where Blanche decides that she's not going to wear underwear?
Right.
You got to, don't be pretentious.
Yeah, if you don't, that's like, sorry, this is the last thing I'll say.
Okay.
But I hate when people do something that no one knows what it is, and then, or they do something that's clearly for attention, but then they like act like they don't want attention.
Yeah.
Like last year or 2 years ago at VidCon, there was this girl who was dressed in the most intense cosplay. Like she put so much time into it.
Yeah.
And I saw her like 3 separate times at VidCon, people trying to come up to her being, she was not famous. She was, I don't know actually, but she wasn't like a featured creator or anything. But she's like, kept me like, stop, you guys, oh my God, stop. Like she was like running away from people. Or someone would like try to like, I saw it one time she was in line with someone and they were like, I love your outfit. And she was like, oh, thanks. I don't know. And I was like, what is this? Like, what mind game are you playing with people? You clearly want attention.
Yeah.
So stop being so mean to people. So it's the same thing. If someone asks you what your weird niche costume is, you gotta be excited to tell them.
Yeah. If it's a pun or like it's a reference, you did that. And I don't mean to victim blame, but you did that.
You did do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to rate and review us. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. And happy Halloween
Happy Halloween.
from the BCC Club.
Mm-hmm. So, actually, one more thing.
Yeah.
I realized that Halloween is Scorpio season. It's not even Libra season. So, Scorpios, you got the best part of October. But it's besides my birthday. But yeah, happy Halloween, guys.
Happy Halloween. Have a great week. Happy Wednesday. Bye. Bye.